Do you have low back pain? Do you have tight hips? I'm Dr. Danny Governor with SD Body Fix. Today, I want to talk about how your hip tightness and lack of mobility can be contributing to your low back pain. And then I'm going to give you 3 basic exercises to get started with to start improving your hip mobility and hopefully helping decrease your low back pain. Here we go. Let's briefly talk about the anatomy of the lumbar spine so you can understand why hip motion and mobility is so important. So when we look at the lumbar spine, we can see these joints right here. They're called facet joints. That's what guides our motion. When standing up, we only have about 5 to 10 degrees of rotation in either directions. This can be a problem, especially if you like to do rotatory type movements. For example, I like to golf and I like to surf, so I have a lot of rotation. I also like playing tennis, pickleball, so there's a lot of rotation here. The problem is when we bend and rotate, yes, we get a little more motion, we can get these joints out of the way, but what starts to pay the price? The disc. So what do? If we want to do those types of movements in sports, then we have to improve hip mobility and motion so that we can rotate a little bit more without putting stress on the low back. Here are 3 exercises that I start my patients on when we're trying to improve hip motion and mobility. Now, it's important to remember we're all made different ages, different shapes of hip sockets. Some of us have our femur, our lower leg, a little bit more forward, some a little more backwards, some are deeper. It all depends on the person, but there are some basic moves we can do to improve the motion of the hips. Okay, first things first. When talking about getting more mobility and motion in the hips, it's important to really get warmed up. For that, I really like a dynamic hip swing. Now, there's lots of ways to do it. This is just the way I like to do it because I can do it on the golf course, on the tennis court, whenever I'm ready to go. So grab either a golf club or a dowel, it doesn't matter. And all we're going to do is we're going to start swinging our legs. The reason I like this is we're going to really warm up the muscles that flex and extend the hip. Here's how you're going to do it. You're going to grab your post. You're going to stand up straight, engage the core, and we're just going to slowly swing back and forth. Now start small. If you're coming straight out of the office, straight onto that first tee, you can be really stiff and tight. So we're going to extend. We're going to do about 10 of these. We're going to flex and extend. And as you see, you'll see as you do it more and more, you'll get warmer and warmer and warmer. You'll be able to get going a little further. Now, a couple things we don't want to do. A lot of people tend to kind of rock back and forth like this. Then we're taking the motion away from the hip. So I want you to get real upright. Keep that core nice and active. You don't have to hold it super tight, just nice and active. And then we're just going to pivot around this point. Front to back. So we're getting flexion, extension, flexion, extension. This is going to warm up the hip flexors, the glutes, and we're going to really get moving. This is the first step in getting more mobility and motion in the hips. Now, next, we want to get some internal and external rotation. So we're going to go toe in this way, toe out this way. And there may be a little discomfort at end range, so take it real slow, especially if you've been sitting at the desk all day or sitting in a car driving around all day. So once again, we're going to hold our stick out in front of us, and we're going to engage the core, and we're going to start with toe in and toe out, toe in and toe out. And we're just going to get some movement, 10 to 15 reps, and then we're going to repeat on the other side. You're going to start to get warm here. This is super important. Now we're going to talk about gaining just a little more static motion or static mobility. Now, static stretching really should be done after activity, but I really like a basic figure 4 stretch when talking about the hip because a lot of us, as we get older, we lose the ability to even cross our leg. So I'm going to show you how to do it laying down because I feel like you get a little better motion this way and it's a little easier on the back. So this is how you're going to do it. Okay, the figure 4 stretch. You're going to lay on your back. You're going to cross your leg, ankle to knee. Now, some people, their knee is going to be like this. They're just not going to have that motion at first. That's okay. We're going to gently take our hand, gently press down, real easy. Okay, we don't want to feel this in our low back. We just want to feel it in the hip. This is going to open up the hip. You want to hold these for a long time when you're doing these. 30 to 60 seconds on each side, and I would repeat 3 times. You really, really want to hold it. Once again, this is to be done after activity. In the evening, when you're done with work, I wouldn't roll straight out of bed and do these. And then we're going to switch sides, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So you notice like my left is a little bit tighter. So we're just going to go a little bit easier. Now, there's another version of this that's a little more aggressive, but if you're having low back pain, this may be tough. So the more aggressive way to do it is like this. We're going to cross our leg. We're going to take our fingers. We're going to interlock it behind here. If you have a lot of flexibility, you can go up to the knee. And we're going to try to keep the back flat. All we're going to do is we're going to pull up towards our head gently. Now this is really going to start to get those glutes. This is going to open it up. You're going to feel this. But this is a great, great stretch, especially at the end of the day when we've been on our feet or active all day. Then we're going to switch sides, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, the hip 90-90 stretch or exercise can be a little bit more difficult. So if you're experiencing low back pain, I want you to take your time or modify with this, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So the hip 90-90 is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to get the knees and the hip at 90 degrees. Same thing with the back. We're going to get the knees at 90 degrees. And we want everything at a right angle here. We're going to sit straight up, and all we're going to do is just lean forward. This is going to cause a lot of stretch on that front hip, okay? I want you to take your time. If you're feeling it in the low back, you can modify. This is how you're going to do it. You're going to grab a block. I like to use a little yoga block. You can roll up towels. You can use a pillow. It doesn't really matter. You're going to put it in front of that front hip. This is going to straighten out the spine. I'll show you. So what you're going to do is you're going to get on top of this. This is going to give a little more support. It's going to put you a little more upright. Some people don't have that much hip mobility, so then we're really leaning and causing a lot of low back pain. Totally defeats the purpose. So we're going to get real tall, everything at 90. We're going to flatten the back, extend forward. This is really going to start to get us some motion in here. And then we're going to switch sides. Same thing with the figure 4 stretch. We're going to do this for 30 to 60 seconds. We're going to repeat a few times, and I want you to do it at the end of the day. I want you to do it after activity. Don't just roll out of bed and do these. That's not what they're meant for. They're meant to slowly gain some more motion and flexibility in the hip. So remember, the leg swings we can do before activity. Those are a little bit more dynamic, a little more active. That'll get us warmed up to do these rotational activities. These static stretches, the figure 4, the 90-90, these are meant to do either after getting warmed up in the morning or at the end of the day. Give them a try, take your time, and I bet you'll see a decrease in low back pain as your hip mobility improves.